What's going on out there? Why should people even care? I guess we should start there, right?
Oh, man. Okay, well, why should they care? That's a big one. China is kind of the missing piece in a lot of the problems we're watching. Whether you care about Ukraine, whether you care about Israel, whether you care about Iran, whether you care about farmland, whether you care about business and intellectual property, whether you care about freedom of speech or Hollywood getting censored or, people, look, Ennis Cantor, freedom basketball player, writes a message criticizing Chinese current day slave labor of Uyghurs on his shoe while players are kneeling on the basketball court protesting, like ancient American, at this point, hundreds of years ago, American slavery, and he gets punished for it. So why can he not criticize current day slavery, but every other player can kneel and criticize the United States?
Right.
Every issue has some element, I'd say, of CCP subversion. And even when it comes to government corruption, the whole nine yards, a lot of my work has been investigating that. In fact, going all the way back to 2008, when my job as investigative reporter started, it was because I found Chinese Communist Party agents trying to influence American elections.
Wow.
And I uncovered Chinese mafia involvement. For a good 5 years, they were threatening to kill me.
Jeez, back in 08?
And this was in the United States. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is in the United States, too.
Didn't it just get exposed that 2020 they had something to do with interference?
Yeah. So the thing with that, Kash Patel handed members of Congress research that I guess had been just suppressed. They had a classified human source during the 2020 elections, the FBI, who told them the Chinese Communist Party was planning on shipping counterfeit driver's licenses to the United States, and they were going to use these counterfeit licenses to get fraudulent mail-in ballots.
Right.
And they wanted to defraud the elections. Now, that report was hidden. They covered it up. They're investigating it right now. Congress is making a big deal about it, Republicans at least. And it turns out that while they suppressed it, and they did it apparently because they don't want to make the former head of the FBI look bad because it contradicted his public testimonies, they intercepted an actual shipment of counterfeit fake IDs coming from China that exactly fit in with what they were warned about. But I would actually add to what they're looking at right now based on my research. Understand also, in order for the fake IDs to be relevant to rig the election, because they wanted to use those to, again, get fraudulent mail-in ballots, you had to have universal mail-in ballots, you had to have ballot drop-off points, and you had to have a reduced checks and balances on the election. What caused that? Well, COVID-19 and the policies that were created to allow that. How did that happen? The Chinese Communist Party intentionally leaked the virus outside of China because they restricted internal travel, but allowed external travel. And then they told everybody they had everything under control. Then they lied, excuse me. Then they lied to the World Health Organization, and they made the China model, lockdowns, don't leave your house, economic shutdown, a whole nine yards, the recommended model for handling COVID. And so they kind of set up the whole domino stage for that entire operation.
Wow. Super elaborate, huh?
Yeah, serious.
Jeez, makes you wonder if C-19 was planned from the start for this.
Well, they're investigating that too. We'll see.
Holy crap. That's nuts, man. So you said they were trying to have you killed for 5 years. That was the CCP?
Yes. Well, I don't know if they had operations trying to make it happen, but I had people threatening me, including to my face.
Jeez.
So the way that happened was this. That was 2008, right ahead of the Beijing Olympics. And if you remember what happened at that time, the Chinese Communist Party was facing a global pushback because even a lot of the corporate media were saying, this is the bloody Olympics, right? That was the kind of slogan, the bloody Olympics. And they were saying they're persecuting Christians, they're persecuting Tibetans, they're persecuting Muslims, they're persecuting Falun Gong practitioners. And the, of course, message was this. You had mass protests in China. There were videos coming out of Chinese police.
All right, guys, Sean Kelly here, host of the Digital Social Hour podcast. Just filmed 33 amazing episodes at Student Action Summit. Shout out to Code Health, sponsor of these episodes, but also I took them before filming each day. Felt amazing. Just filmed 20 episodes straight, and I'm not even tired, honestly. So Code Health, amazing products. I also take these at home, especially when I traveled. I used to get sick every time I flew, and I started taking that. First time, I haven't had a runny nose, knock on wood. One standout element, it's so easy. You got the travel pack here, but you could just take this, fit it in your pocket if you need to. Also, all natural, like only saline solution in there. So you don't got to worry about any crazy side effects or anything. Yeah, Code's unique. With supplements, there's a lot of who knows what's in those ingredients. Code Health, I haven't seen much like this, where it's just based off, the codes that are in the saline solution. So I would say they're very unique. It's going to be the future of health and medicine. Code Health has been awesome.
Feel the drop and go code yourself.
Holding the robes of Tibetan Buddhist monks. And it turned out it was exposed. Chinese police were putting on the robes of monks and then causing problems for the cameras. And the cameras were like, showing what looked like Buddhist monks, like attacking police. But they had videos of the police, again, holding the robes, getting ready to dress up in them. So the problem the CCP had was their normal game of trying to frame people, make fake narratives. It was all being screwed up because media was actually reporting the truth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what did they do? They started threatening all the Western media. Bloomberg media, one example of this, they told Bloomberg that if you keep covering this, we're going to cut your ability to have Bloomberg financial terminals in China.
Wow.
Because Bloomberg is both a financial organization and a media organization. So they threatened them on the financial side to silence them as a media. They came out and said, we're just not going to really go after this stuff anymore. Some of the other news outlets, some of them on camera were criticizing the CCP. They got shut down. And you had journalists risking getting kicked out of China, entire news outlets risking getting kicked out of China. They went quiet. Then the CCP launched a global media initiative. They did a full takeover of Times Square with Xinhua Media, which is their main state-run news outlet. They launched what's called China Daily, which was the English version of their official Chinese state-run media. Then they started doing paid newspaper inserts in New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and a whole bunch of others. And so they started paying media to run inserts of CCP propaganda. So take in mind, this was a massive operation. Then what did they do? It wasn't enough to silence the media. It wasn't enough to suppress people in China and crush, human rights in China.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't enough to do any of that. They also had to silence overseas dissidents. And so what happened? Well, this resulted in what I began investigating. So at the time, I was a very new journalist. I was a reporter. I started with 2006 when I was still a student.
Dang.
And I was just mailing or, sending in like articles to newspapers. Epoch Times started publishing me as kind of a regular because I was in school going, studying journalism.
Mm-hmm.
Then they offered me a summer internship, 2008. And I was like, yeah, great. I was, student, getting ready to become a journalist, looking into it. There were these big protests in Chinatown in New York.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Flushing, Queens, which is not the official Chinatown, but kind of the real Chinatown. If you go to the end of the 7 train into Queens, that's Flushing.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of stuff there. There were these bizarre incidents, though. You had human rights activists getting attacked en masse by just mobs of people. So you had out there, it was mainly democracy activists and Falun Gong practitioners, and then a handful of Christian, China Christian activists, because, they have this state-run version of Christianity, which is allowed or used to be. They're persecuting that now too. But if you're a house Christian, a real Christian, they persecute you. So you had people in Flushing, because it's a Chinese community, they have booths for human rights and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese Communist Party, it was suspected, was sending agents to go beat them up. And so I was like, well, what's really going on? I went out there and what do I see? You have hundreds of Chinese individuals beating, attacking, spitting on, threatening to kill. You wouldn't believe it. Just random other members of the Chinese community.
Wow.
You talk to the police, and what they're being told is, oh, it's just a disagreement among the community. You know what I mean?
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.